A very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the third and final day of Color Cineplex Presents Television Week 2021. To begin with, I would like to thank our presenting partner, Color Cineplex. Can we please have their AV?
छोटे सुना क्या 10 ओवर बोले तो गेम ओवर Abu Dhabi T10 League Season 5 starts 19th November live on Color Cineplex, Rishte Cineplex, and Food Select. Abu Dhabi T10 Season 5 19 November से live Color Cineplex, Rishte Cineplex और Voot पर.
Thanks, guys. Moving on to today's session, Davids and Goliaths. On the panel, we have Jahil Thakkar, partner at Deloitte India, Sujata Dwivedi, Group Trading Director, Amplify Denso International, and Vivek Kuto, Executive Director at Media Partners Asia. Welcome, everyone. Now, introducing you to the moderator of the session, Shrikant Khandekar, co-founder and director at AFAX. Once again, thank you everyone for joining us. The audience is requested to please stay back after this session as we have an interview with Maruti Suzuki's Shashank Srivastava and Viacom 18's Mahesh Shetty on the promises and perils of GEC. Over to you, Mr. Khandekar.
Thank you, Devashish. Good afternoon, everyone. David and Goliaths. This thing, the reference is to the mergers that have been taking place in the TV space. A couple of years ago, Star became Disney Star. And now there is a proposed merger between Sony and Zee through a swap deal. It was announced in September. So if you look at it, if Sony and Zee got together, where would they be? How would the landscape change? Today, Disney Star has a 21% viewership share and has a turnover of more than 14,000 crore. It's clearly number one. Then you have Zee with a 19% audience share. This is figures for 2020, and a turnover of about 7,700 crore, significantly less than Disney Star. And then there's Sony with a 9% share, audience share, translating into a top line of 5,900 crore. And then beneath is Network 18. The point is that if this merger does go through, Zee and Sony together will have a 28% audience share as opposed to Star's 21%, significantly more audience share. But in terms of turnover, assuming that you just added the two turnovers and that is the new company, it doesn't always happen like that. But say it does happen, they would be almost neck and neck with Star, maybe 1,000 crore less than that. All right. So the question we are going to discuss is, what are the reasons because of which mergers such as these are taking place? And B, if it does go through, what is it going to do to the different aspects of the TV business? Is it going to be, TV as usual, or is the game going to change in a significant way because Zee and Sony are just much larger than other players other than Star? So may I ask each of you, thank you so much for being here. May I ask each of you to just, at a bullet point level, just mention what you think are the big ways in which this merger, assuming it goes through, and we'll assume that it goes through, okay, is going to impact the TV landscape in India. What are the ways in which it can go? Jail, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure.
Just bullet points, because we'll come back to that later. Okay.
Yeah. So the way I view this is kind of a continuum from where the industry as the industry has been evolving over a number of years. I mean, we did see a number of smaller broadcasters getting consolidated into the 4-5 networks that we have today. With Ma and with ETV and with several others. And I think this is just part of the same journey. I mean, the world over, if you look, you essentially have always had 3 or 4 large broadcasters in any major market. That being said, I think there are factors other than just pure broadcasting market share at play here, because the industry itself is evolving. We have broadcaster-owned OTTs, which are significant players in the Indian ecosystem today. And I think that is a great part of the decision-making that actually is driving a lot of M&A and decisions around consolidation today. So customer acquisition in the OTT space is going to be a big spend area, will require financial muscle as we keep going forward. We are a number of years away from, hitting positive bottom line on that front.
Right.
So I think size will be important over there. So I think that is part of the decision making as well.
Okay. Vivek?
No, look, echoing what Jael said, it's the search for scale. And scale is redefined in 2021, because certainly in India, you had this revolution of connectivity, which we've had in 6 years. And you've also had sort of pretty significant regulation of a $10 billion television sector, right? Particularly on the affiliate fee side. And then, as Jael said, as people go direct to consumer, and as television moves online, and people try and capture these big pockets of consumer spend and advertising spend, you have to be armed with significant amounts of capital and significant amounts of talent as well, it has to be said, individual talent and technology and product and innovation to tackle all of that. And because, technology is going to be critical for that, and capturing new advertising dollars as they move online, and capturing consumer spend. And of course, the most important thing is content, right? And programming, and catering for these new audiences that are moving online. We've obviously seen Netflix do that at a global level. And they're going to start reporting free cash, I guess, in the next couple of years. But as Jael said, the journey just started for others. And, let's see where they come out over the next few years.
Thanks, Vivek. Sujata, how do you see it?
If we look at the journey 10 years back, that's when we had already forecasted that this kind of consolidation will happen. Little by little, Star started acquiring all the regional players. Voot and Viacom Group started acquiring the ETV network. And so this consolidation was quite anticipated. However, the two giants which have come together now, they are going to give a big competition to the other players. Unlike in the digital space where you have a duopoly of Google and Facebook, where the product offerings are quite different. Here, the product offerings are also very similar. So the competition is also going to be really tough. And if you see the Zee and the Sony network, they really complement each other in terms of synergies. The two OTTs that they have together will now compete with the Hotstar, which is the second largest after YouTube in terms of the video space. And so they will also have to acquire a lot of tech learnings. They'll have to initiate a lot of new kind of products for themselves to really establish themselves as a good, big OTT partner. And of course, in terms of television, Zee, as it is, has huge number of channels. So does Sony. So they'll have 75 to 80 number of channels. They'll have a brilliant, footprint in the regional markets. And when it comes to their movie platform, they also have, all the movies, etc. with them. They have FTA with them. So you name it, and the offering that they're coming up with is huge. So if this proposed, merger goes through, it's going to give a huge competition to the other two big players, which is, Star, Disney, and Viacom.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Actually, that point I couldn't agree with more. I mean, Sony is prominent in cities. It's very strong in Hindi. They're good with sports, and they have a presence in kids. And on the other hand, Zee is very strong in regional, where actually Sony is lacking. So it seems to fit quite well. So, okay, now anyone can answer this. the question actually is that if we were to look beyond television and look at Google or Facebook or Netflix and Amazon, how much of this, companies being driven into each other's arms, which of these players is driving these mergers the most? Is it Netflix? Is it?
I think one thing, Shrikant, before we talk about those guys, I also think, look, I think, yes, that some of that is driving change. Sorry to interrupt you. Because,
No, please go ahead. Now it's free. I mean,
some of that is driving change, but I also think this is a merger, arguably, that should have happened 24 to 36 months ago, number one, right? Because if you look at established countries all around the world, you generally have three big national networks, right? That control it, and sometimes it becomes two, particularly as economies mature and so forth. So I think this should have happened some time ago, irregardless of.
Why do you say 24 or 36 months?
Well, because
that's very specific.
No, I didn't mean it in terms of the deal cadence. Well, I mean, there were talks about this deal, as you know.
Yeah, it's been going on round and round. Right?
So look, I think when you have sort of global consolidation with one of the biggest guys who's producing, as you know, investing in local television and domestic television, decides to merge with Disney, that obviously kicks off a lot of sort of consolidation talks, not just in India, but everywhere else. So you've seen this consolidation theme, as Jael said, panning out in a lot of markets, right? So in Korea, we've already seen a couple of mergers. You saw a telecom business combining with free-to-air broadcasters to have a streaming platform. We saw two of the biggest content guys coming in together. And to some extent, Netflix has definitely sort of, the launch and the growth of Netflix and Amazon has forced this change. But I would also argue the growth in India of companies like YouTube and Google. For a brief period there, you had TikTok, and the fragmentation of eyeballs and now ad dollars has also forced this change, right? So no longer is television considered, at least the narrative for television isn't as clear. We all know there's still a lot of viewership, as Sujata has mentioned. We all know there's still a lot of revenues as well. As you said, if you put together and forecast for next year, looks like these guys will be putting in together, $2 billion in revenues, right? So it's a significant amount. But the cultural narrative seems to have shifted. People are talking about the creator economy. They're talking about short form content. They're talking about all these fantastic originals that Amazon and Disney Hotstar and Netflix are producing for streaming. And that seems to be what investors are backing, whether it's in private or public markets, right? And neither Zee and Sony was seen as having a sort of play in that stake. You had ZEE5, you had Sony Live. They were great. And they both sort of pivoted, and they both had shifts in the last sort of 6 to 12 months. But again, they weren't dominating the narrative, say, as Disney Plus Hotstar was, or Netflix or YouTube or company.
Yeah, but so I'm not. So I understood that, but then how would all that explain the merger? I mean, by the way, one more thing also. I think perhaps Jael, you could also join in here. I don't think Sony has a presence in the television business. I think they had it in Brazil. I don't know if they still do, but they're also part of the deal. They're going to put in $1.5 billion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, what would explain Sony's interest in the context of what Vivek is saying, that TV is not the most exciting thing now. The talk is all around streaming, right?
Yeah.
Though it's still very large, obviously. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you think explains Sony's interest here, or willingness to go even deeper with another $1.5 billion?
I think the key to is not viewing this only as a television business, right? Like I said, I mean, it's really, if you want to be in the entertainment business or you in the consumer engagement business, broadly speaking, then it starts to make a lot more sense. If you look at you're absolutely right that Sony globally is not a big player in the broadcast business.
Right.
They do have some offerings in a few other countries here and there, but India is a big play for them from a purely television broadcast standpoint. That being said, if you look at Sony's presence in consumer entertainment, I mean, they're a huge player in gaming, as we all know.
Right.
With the Sony Interactive and PlayStation. That itself has its own network, right? The
Yeah.
gamers can connect with each other and play, and right, there's a network effect there.
Right.
Sony also had, or in some cases has, its OTT platform called Crackle.
Okay.
Right. So in India, Sony Live, but there was Sony also has Sony Crackle. So if you look at the overall umbrella of Sony's interests, I think it starts to make a lot more sense. And I think, like Vivek also underlined earlier, we're converging on 2-3 worlds at the same time, right? I mean, your broadcast business in India, traditionally from your subscription revenue pie from being a B2B business, is transitioning towards a B2C business.
Okay.
Right? Your advertising pie still remains a B2B in that sense. So the amount of capital, talent, scale that you will need to be able to compete in this business is going to be multiple times of what it is today. If you start looking at the spends that are happening on scripted shows, right? I mean, they're rising to, you need tentpole shows even for your OTT platform, because that drives customer acquisition.
Yeah.
In the US now, you're spending up close to people are spending up to $20 million an hour of scripted television.
Goodness. Okay.
Right, the number of original scripted shows, if you look at, we did a study in the US from 2010 to 2019, went from 216, if I have the numbers correctly here, to 532, right?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
216 in 2010,
Right.
original scripted shows,
Right.
to 532 in 2019.
Okay.
Right, more than double. So the amount of spend that it requires to stay in this game and to keep growing in this game, it needs more financial muscle, needs more scale, needs more people on the ground in terms of distribution. You got to start to think like a B2C company, at least as far as your subs goes. So all that, I think if you're a middle player, I think the way to stay in this game is you're a biggie when you're dealing with a big general market, or you decide on a niche, either a language or a genre, and you invest in dominating that niche. But there's no middle ground.
Just
before Srikanth, just coming back on what Joe said, he's absolutely right. Just from a Sony perspective, and Sony, this is one of the biggest local businesses they have, and it's the only market that I think where, to Jail's point, they have a relative scaled streaming business and a very large scale TV business. And I think
they have a long way to go in streaming, don't they?
No. But I'm just saying relative to their other ventures, right? Jail mentioned Crackle. Crackle is subscale, hasn't done anything. So fundamentally, Sony globally licenses content. It's an arms dealer, right? It licenses content to a lot of companies, including Netflix, and it produces a lot of content, which is fine. So this is a big, India is a big local market for them. Okay. And Z, to Jail's point, needed a lot of scale, a lot of capital to sort of compete. There's no, and sorry, if you look at the 3 players that we estimate this year and next year, Disney, Hotstar, Netflix, and Amazon together, they're going to be spending $600 to $700 million in aggregate and closing up to $1 billion next year on local originals and content. And this excludes what's coming up with the IPL. So you can see the cadence and the capital needed to compete just in the streaming business is significant. There's no doubt, I think, to your point, when you bring these 2 networks together, they have 25% of the TV ad market, right? And that ad market is going to grow, whoever's numbers you use, 10%, 15% over the next 5 years. That's a great business to be involved in. And by the way, TV advertising is still a decent business wherever you look, whether it's in India or Indonesia or even in the US, though in the US you have connected TV and you have AVOD. I think the interesting thing that Jill and I had mentioned earlier is, how do you compete on what consumers are going to be spending on? The way the regulations have run in India, there is no real sort of upside, one would argue, in the sort of subscription business, right? It's regulated crazily. There's no real affiliate fee growth for broadcasters. In fact, most of them are negative territory. So if you want to broadly generalize, you could say the future is, already on the streaming side. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see how these two bodies come together and compete in the premium entertainment area.
Sujata, one of the issues will be that one of the questions will be that what is going to be the impact on content and production if the two of them go together? It seems to me, but would you agree with this, that the biggest impact is likely to be in sports? Because Z has never been very strong in sports, and Sony has done well. I mean, they have done IPL before, etc. And if with another $1.5 billion, now I'm not saying they're going to put it only into sports, but the fact is they will have more money, they'll be bigger, and they will now bid. It seems to me that that is one big advantage they may have of size. Now, would you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So look at the Tokyo Olympics, till 2 years back, nobody was talking about it, right? This year, right. Tokyo Olympics was also very big on Sony Live, right? And look at the FIFA World Cup. So there are niche audiences who are, gradually building up. Subscriber base is only increasing with Sony Live. Now with ZEE5 and Sony Live coming together, the overall shares will be as high as, the second player in India. So after Disney Hotstar, it would be ZEE5 and Sony Live. Now, if they get IPL, with them, the mandate will take them to a different level altogether. So it's a great synergy for them. Great synergy for them.
You think is it mostly about cricket? I mean, cricket is of course the biggest, but is it only about cricket, or as you're saying that you can assemble a bunch of niche sports and also turn it into something a significant business? In
India, 50% of the revenue is cricket on sport.
Right. Yeah.
Especially IPL, itself would contribute to 50% of their revenue once, they acquire it, if they acquire it, that is. And the rest of the 50% would have some amount of entertainment and other sports. So IPL is really big. So it's really dependent on that. But looking at if it is only other cricket, then it may be, 30%, 25 to 30%. But cricket is the, most important sport in India, even now.
Jael, do you think, thanks, Sujata. Jael, do you think they'll have the appetite to bid really big for cricket? Because I think Facebook has kind of dropped out of sports, if I'm not wrong. Where I read a thing saying that they think it's not sustainable, doing media deal kind of thing. But even if Facebook is not there, there's also, Amazon is there, right? Do you think would you see sports as a place where the new entity could make a big impact?
So, while I don't want to speculate on the intent of the new entity, but I do think that, I agree with Sujata that, this is a critical property. And like I said earlier, from a streaming standpoint, and whether not only the broadcaster owns streamers, but, even the FANGs, I think if you're in that business, and we are in a customer acquisition zone in India for the next medium to at least the short to medium term. And this becomes a key lever of customer acquisition. So people are going to spend on cricket rights. I think in India, yes, there are other sports, but those are incremental. If you want to make a step change, if you want to, stay at scale, this becomes, especially in, appointment viewing. I mean, really sports is the game. Yeah.
Sujata, let me come back to you with a question. When we talk about ad sales, okay, so if Sony Z are together, they have over 26-28% audience share. But when you buy, I mean, just for my understanding, and I think the understanding of the audience, when you buy, inventory, do you buy on a program? Do you buy on a channel, or do you buy on a network? Because if I understand correctly, but please correct me if I'm wrong, that in the past, it used to be like network deals, right? And I think relationships mattered a lot, and you take this and I'll give you that thing, etc. But if I understand correctly, it has moved increasingly towards dealing with properties independently, because there's a sense that when you bundle things together, a lot of inefficient channels or programs stay inside because you have an illusion that they're earning money. So could you just explain that a bit?
You know, it varies from client to client on how we go about buying. Honestly, it's a lot dependent on the audiences we buy. So if I was to give you, you know, the broad sense, Z works very well with the female audience, the urban and the rural audience, you know. So for that, Z network works very well. So we would normally analyze the channel shares first. We would look at the affinity of the channels. We would go at a deep level into the programs and see where there's affinity and ratings and where the efficiencies work, and accordingly we develop the plan and buy. And when it comes to Sony, it's a urban centric, a little metro. It's an all audience kind of a, you know, channel wherein, you know, for brands which want to cater to both younger audience as well as both male and female, Sony works extremely well. So depending on the audiences, we actually identify what is the kind of deals we want to do and how it works with the strategy of the brand. So it's more to do with what brand KPIs we've taken on than on what we want to generally buy. But yes, the network deals have reduced a lot.
But has that happened in recent years, or is it something that's been happening for a long time?
It's been happening over a period now, because, you
And
know,
what is the business reason behind that?
so, you know, the consciousness and the awareness in media is increasing. We are getting more and more scientific, right? It's more and more about data and, you know, our ability to analyze a brand, right? So, depending on the categories and the brands, we really go deep into the analysis to arrive at a strategy. And that's how we arrive at the buying. So it's not buying led for a brand. It is a strategy led decision for a brand.
Just more data is available, and
yes, more data is available, more granularity is available. We are able to look at the ROI for our brands better by looking at a granular level of analysis.
Okay. If I just pause for a moment, folks, if you have any questions to ask the panelists, if there's time, we'll take them up. So please put in your questions and on the app, and I'll keep an eye on that, please. Yeah. So, you know, one of the things is in our conversation, Vivek, streaming has, you know, keeps on coming back, because obviously that's the big unknown. Okay, and it's going to soak a lot of money going forward. Even in this conversation, we have talked, so when we talk about the television part, I think it's easy to imagine that many of the channels, at least in the beginning, stay the way they are. The brands remain the way they are. There may be integration at the back end, but the networks carry on, I assume, right? At least in the short run. But it's harder to see if the big challenge, if one of the reasons they're getting together is for reasons of technology, for scale, audience acquisition, even capital, because they need new huge programs on OTT to get their subscribers. I find it very hard to imagine that ZEE5 and Sony Live would they put money behind both? I mean, how does that work? Because in the case of TV, they can carry on the way they are carrying on, right? But how would it work in the case of OTT streaming?
Yeah, look, it's a good question. I mean, again, can't really speak for the merged entity or when that merged entity created, but generally, all these mergers are the end result is one surviving platform, right? You go to the customer with one consumer proposition. Effectively, there are no Fox branded streaming services anywhere. It just happens to be in India because, Hotstar was a stronger business than Disney. So it became Disney plus Hotstar. Same with Warner Brothers and Discovery. It's very likely, very, very likely that it will all fold into HBO as a surviving brand. So it really depends on what the entity will be. You'll have one brand and one sole product. And I think the key thing, Srikanth, is you're going to have one brand that advertisers and customers will engage with. The key question is, what are the synergies on content acquisition and creation that come out of it? What are the synergies at the back end from the product and the tech side, if at all, right? You might have to reskin the game. Sony, of course, Sony Live has reskinned a little bit, and how that works. And I think that's going to be sort of the key thing to watch, around that in the next sort of 24 months as they come together.
Okay, talking of content, I'll flip back to television for just a moment. like in sports, I was talking to Sujata about the sports part, right? That would the fact of two forces combining, does it give them an edge in terms of competing for cricket and other sports? Do you see in any other aspect of content an advantage when it comes to content and production? I mean, the question is for both Vivek, you and Jail, both. Other than sports, is there an advantage in the two entities coming together?
Yes, I think so, because I think if you look at all aspects of your supply chain and just the ability to negotiate from a position of strength because you have scale, you are able to then do better deals, both with programming suppliers as well as your cable entities, DTH entities. All of that. That may, of course, not matter now that much because of the B2C nature of where we are heading. But clearly, if you're able to, negotiate, from a position of strength with people you're buying a package of movies from, a library, etc. I think it does have, significant.
But that advantage would actually go to everybody, isn't it? Because there are just fewer players. So if, say, Sony Z can negotiate better, actually so can Disney Star, because there are just fewer buyers. So that advantage would pass equally to everybody, wouldn't it? Not equally, of course. They're bigger.
Yeah.
Maybe less to network 18, no?
Yeah. So you would be in a greater position of strength to be able to, so to be able to let's say now that you have. The combined entity has a greater number of genres on television that they're buying movies for. Let's say from a single production house. You can buy in the same package. You can buy a Marathi movie. You can buy Hindi movies. You can buy, Tamil movie, etc. From a production house that has that library, and you're able to package that together because you're using them across your entire bouquet. So you're positioned to go, rather than negotiate for 3 Hindi movies, you're negotiating for 10 movies at the same time, which then you are able to do, at least in theory, a better deal
on. So you need to come to streaming. When we look at the fact that it will require a lot of capital, all right, whether they stay with the 2 apps or merge them into one. Where would the bulk of this capital be soaked? Is it in the content part? Is it in audience acquisition? Is it technology and product? Because when you compare, one of the things I always think is that Domino's changed our thinking with regard to food delivery. Now, of course, you got Swiggy, Zomato, etc. But when they came to India 10, 15 years back, they could deliver in 30 minutes. And suddenly everything was slow. That became the benchmark. And I think in some ways, Netflix is that. You look at anything and you say, man, this is so clunky compared to Netflix. So where is it product/technology? Is it audience acquisition? Is it content? Where would the money go?
I think to your point, just on a couple of things around that, right? I think first of all, on the content side, apart from what Jail said about sort of bargaining with producers and with affiliates, obviously they're going to have a huge channel portfolio, so there is some leverage on that. But one consumer brand and entity putting all that content, right, all that entertainment, kids, sports, regional, national, all of that under one roof is pretty powerful as a consumer proposition, right? So let's come to that first, because one of the big lessons that we've learned working with some of these platforms globally is that everyone who's tried to follow Netflix or YouTube generally underestimates the content that is required. The amount of content is required and the cadence that you need with your customers. So I think they're going to start off from a strong place. But I think in relation to where they spend and how they spend, look, Srikanth, just on what BCCI has come out with, you're looking at a cricket rights was $2.4 billion 5 years ago. It's now costing $5 billion, right? So that should give you an idea of the arms race that we're facing. Jail will have a better idea on the tech and the back end on the product side, but I think just echoing his point, on the content side is going to be a very big arms race. I think that's coming up. And as Jail said, as you battle for subscribers and more subscribers and customer acquisition, And we've been through this phase, right? You've seen it, Srikanth, in direct-to-home satellite TV with the
Yeah,
big
yeah.
4 or 5 platforms. I think this will continue for a long time. So product side, technology side, and then, all of the other stuff, content and related. So
Okay, Sujata, actually, so there's enormous attention towards subscription now, okay.
Yeah.
But the fact is, the bulk of the apps are still advertising dependent. What will be the challenge from an advertising standpoint for either these 2 apps or one app if it becomes one app? What is the challenge there?
So, honestly, most likely it's going to be one app because sustainability of 2 apps is going to be very difficult. That's
Okay.
our assumption. And then they'll have to have an excellent app. Technically, it has to be really sound. It has to have a brilliant user experience, which, they really will have to invest on. And audiences are now glued on to good content. So it is irrespective of which app they're going to. It is more about good content and a, brilliant user experience. So it's definitely going to be, more about the user experience, which would drive the entire pull of the audiences. It's not going to be, about 1 or 2 apps. Look at anybody's cell phone today. You have 5 to 6 OTT apps already resting there. But who does the audience go? The one who has great content and the one who has easy, easy and brilliant user experience.
that's critical, actually. Well said. The UI, UX, the marketing aspect as well. I remember, you will know this, Sujata, very well, but I remember when the IPL was Sony's and Hotstar got it in the back end for 2 years. They did a lot of great guerrilla marketing. I didn't even know the right for Sony's. I thought it was all Hotstars.
True.
So things like that are very important. It's not, it's money, but it's also strategy, So.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also, what's happening is the ad feed that goes on to these OTTs, they're still getting fixed. So, while Netflix and Amazon don't really accept advertising, but we've seen across the other OTTs, they have to all improve their technical abilities. They have to ensure that the advertising is going right in the right language. So it's not important how many languages they have. It's important whether they're feeding in the right ads in the right language. You wouldn't want to see a different language in Hindi, right? So those kind of glitches are still happening. So what's required is not only measurement, but also the way it is reported, the way it is aired, the entire, the experience really counts for the audiences.
Okay, I think we just got a couple of minutes left. So I'm going to ask this question that let's assume for a minute, let's imagine this merger has gone through, because this whole conversation was assumed that the merger will go through, okay? And we were sitting here 2 years from now discussing, the play that Sony and Zee have done, all right? How would our conversation be different if we were sitting 2 years from now? Of course, now I'm taking you into the future to imagine it, all right? Because we don't know how exactly it'll play out. But assuming the merger has gone through, they have, some level of, culturally they have adjusted to each other, etc. How different do you think if the 4 of us were sitting again and talking 2 years from now, 1 year from now? Take a pick. How would our discussion, what would be, do you think the discussion would be different? It's purely hypothetical.
I think we'll be debating a set of additional mergers even 2 years from now.
You think so? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, because I don't think we're done, to be honest, in the
Really?
Indian ecosystem. And I think we'll see phases, right? We saw that in television as it came along. Today we have an OTT ecosystem where we have more than 60 apps or something, right? And then we'll be debating the consolidation of that front as well.
Okay.
I agree with JL. Just quick 2 points. I agree. It's an ongoing. The business of media is all about scale consolidation eventually, right? So I agree with JL that might be talking about regional market consolidation, right? We might be talking about more last consolidation and distribution and DTH and cable, and then of course, as JL mentioned, on the streaming side as well. So.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I would think, we would also be talking about what is it new that they have done after their consolidation? What is it that they've done to the TV industry? What is it that they've done to the OTT offerings? What is the industry first they've come up with?
Okay, great. I think that kind of sums up how the business has changed and will continue to change. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jael. Thank you, Vivek. Thank you, Sujata. And thank
Thank
you,
you.
audience.
Our pleasure.
Audience, please
Thank
stay back for an interview with Shashank Srivastava, the Executive Director of Maruti. Mahesh Shetty of Viacom 18 will be doing the interview. So please stay on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye. Bye.